Thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. Welcome to this. This is our Global Connect Council. It puts on this event that SAR has. We are we're recognized as a Platinum Global Council Group. This is a recognition that's bestowed on us on behalf of the National Association of Realtors. And to introduce you to some of our leadership with the Global Council Group, we have Polly Mitchell, who's our 2023 chair, Dina Semenuk, who's our co-chair for the group. Then there's myself, I'm Suzanne Brown. I'm the Director of Community and Government Affairs for the Scottsdale Realtors. And I also help out as staff liaison for our Global and Commercial Council groups. As well with us today, we have Annalisa Moreno. She's my coworker and counterpart. She's our Director of Professional Development and also shares with the duties of the staff liaison for our Global and Commercial Council groups. Wave hi, Annalisa.
Oh, good morning, everybody.
And I do know we have on the call today our CEO, Rebecca Grossman. That you want to say hi, Rebecca?
Hey everyone, good to see everyone.
All right. Well, this is our global speaker series that we are putting on. This is a bi-monthly speaker series that we are hosting, and we like to bring in the topics that deal with commercial, not commercial, but global international investment. What is happening in Arizona? Where are those trends that we're seeing? And today's speaker that we have is Tom Witt. Just to get a little introduction to Tom, Tom Witt has held executive positions in the technology sector, developing new products for both the commercial and military markets, most of which were complete failures, never making a dime. His work has spanned roles in marketing, sales, business development, and executive management. Mr. Witt claims he used to possess the ability to ride a fast motorcycle and play a solid game of volleyball, but this was long ago and the jury is still out. What is beyond question is Mr. Witt's passion for his mother, his love of Scottsdale, and his desire to provide valuable service to the commercial real estate customer. Tom, do you want to take it away?
Wow, thank you for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Is this good? Good sound? Also, I have a little wiener dog that barks every time a leaf drops, so you might hear some barking in the background. But anyway, good morning, everyone. Thanks for assembling here for what we thought would be an important look at this build, this big build. What is this big TSMC build that's going on north of Phoenix on I-17? Why is this important to you as a real estate professional? And then, backing up a little bit, how did we win this thing? How did Phoenix win this big next semiconductor manufacturer that chose our state and chose our city? So those are the three things that I endeavor to provide and give you some empowerment so that you can go out there and talk with more expertise to your clients. There's a lot of international clients that will be coming in over the next number of years to fill these jobs. And so it's important to have at least a few bullets about what this is. So that's really the scope of what we're looking at today. We may talk a little bit more about outside of TSMC, for instance, Intel. There's some recent news at Intel. We've also, been able to win another big semiconductor manufacturer, LG, for their battery energy systems. So the hits just keep on coming, and TSMC is a big part of that. They're a big confirmation that, Arizona has the right criteria to go. So Suzanne, if you would go to the next slide here. So again, this is what we want to do. TSMC is a game changer. I want to help you guys to understand why it's a game changer for Arizona. Why did Phoenix win? And again, how does this help, you and our real estate community, both commercial and residential, benefit from these this fab core that's going in, the tech core, and the fabs that are going in up in Peoria. So the next slide is an overview of the So go to the next slide, Suzanne. So who is Morris Chang? Morris Chang, born in 1931. In 1941, the same day that Pearl Harbor was bombed, December 7th, 1941, day that lives in infamy, Morris Chang's city was bombed also in China. His school was destroyed. He and his family had to pick up and go to a nearby school so he could finish high school, finish grade school and finish high school. Being a smart young cookie that he was accepted to Harvard. He completed some engineering, an engineering degree at Harvard. Then he moved on to MIT. He got a master's in mechanical engineering at MIT, and his thesis for his PhD was denied twice. So he decided to go work for Sylvania. Some of us that have been around a while remember Sylvania as one of the early tech companies in the United States. He worked for them for a period of time. Then he was recruited away to Texas Instruments. And if you were in the 70s around and you had a Texas Instrument calculator, they were a giant back in the 70s. They still are a giant as an engine for many of the OMAT cord cell phones, which is more than 60% of the phones in the world. Anyway, Morris Chang was then recruited away from Texas Instruments by Digital Equipment and didn't really like that charter. They weren't really interested in building new stuff. So Taiwan asked him to come over there, and they state sponsored him to build a foundry. So he built a chip foundry, and that chip foundry has turned into the world's largest semiconductor manufacturer in the world, bigger than Intel, bigger than Siemens, bigger than anyone else out there that's making silicon, also leading edge. What's interested in the foundry is that they do not have their own product. They make product for 400 other brands. Contrary to that, Intel makes product for just themselves. Every Intel chip has their own brand on it. So to speak, Intel dances with themselves, where TSMC dances with 400 customers. So they have a different structure. And so what Chang has done in creating and making this decision to come to Arizona is he has changed the game for the investment of technology and confirmed that what we have here in Arizona can land the next one or two or three. It's also has a geopolitical aspect in it. There's this term called a silicon shield. Morris Chang is a true American hero. More look into this guy. He is an absolute leader. For instance, in 2009, when we had the Great Recession, he had retired already. He was 78 years old. He unretired. He came out of retirement and said, I think I'm the best one that can lead this company through the next few years. And he did lead the company again until 2018 when he retired. He is now 90 years old. He's still going around the world and he is speaking. So we're very lucky to have this guy. He's probably the most important person in the last 2 or 3 years, and probably the next 2 or 3 years for residential and commercial real estate in the north part of Phoenix. So big fan of Morris Chang. I'm glad he's here. I'm glad he chose Arizona. So, now let's talk about, next slide, if you would, Suzanne. Let's talk about what the criteria is for a semiconductor manufacturer, such as TSMC or the other 10 that are already in town. This is not the first one. The first one, of course, was Motorola back in World War II in the 1940s. They were early in town. Intel joined the party in the 1970s. SGS Thompson is another one. Of course, On Semiconductor, Amkor. We have a very broad array of semiconductor manufacturers that have already chosen Arizona. So what is the criteria? One of the key things that I want to take away from this, and let's have some fun with it. So in the chat box, if you will, Suzanne and Alyssa are going to take a look at it, but please just put on your critical thinking hats and just put in there anything that you think would be important for in the decision, in the criteria for a semiconductor manufacturer like this to choose a specific state or specific region. I'll give you a hint. In this picture here, which is basically North Phoenix, you see the tech core right in the middle of it, between the 202 to 17 and Carefree Highway. There's four or five clues, 4 or 5 hints on why we were chosen, why Arizona received this. So go ahead and put that in there, and we'll come back to it a little bit later in the talk. So yeah, I see some good ones coming in. Yep, water, that's a good one, Rebecca, and housing. Yep, another good one. So let's go to the next slide. So here's a little deeper dive into the tech core proper. It's about 5,500 acres. Again, you'll see it up there on I-17 between the new 303 loop and also Carefree Highway. They've added Dove Valley bypass that was tied into I-17, the first tie-in I-17 in decades. So you know this thing is important. Also, there is a 16-foot round conduit underneath I-17 that feeds electric. It's just a big electrical conduit, cable harness that goes underneath of it all the way to the core. So where you see in the core in this image right now, that's where the fabs are going in. Right now, they are building the first of what plan of record, what POR is 3 fabs. Now they're in discovery for another 3. So we may have a total of 6 fabs or a mega fab complex. TSMC has one in Japan right now, a sixplex, but this would be the only other place that they would have a sixplex. Each one of these fabs has about 15 to 2,000 factory workers. These are meaty jobs. These are $80,000 to $200,000 jobs. And for every fab worker, there is a multiplier of 4 to 5 subcontractor jobs that need to be in the area to keep these big, these big fabs going. These things are tens of billions of dollars to build. They work 24/7, 365 days a year, Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, they never shut down. If your processee is shut down, and it's 2 in the morning, you get up and you go into work and you fix it. That's the culture of TSMC. They're a little concerned, by the way, of coming to the United States and worrying about whether the American worker is going to step up. They've got to step up. They will step up. They need to. So they're recruiting from all over the world. The first 300 came in about a month ago after spending 6 months in Taiwan, in their headquarters, learning their processes, becoming experts at transferring that process here to Phoenix. The second 300 came, and they're a mix of Russians, Indians, Taiwanese, Americans, Japanese. They're from all over the world. So all of those young engineering families are excited to come over here and take the jobs, and they're bringing them over in 300, they're training them up and then bringing them over here 300 at a time. They have 600 here already to start opening that first fab. So the first fab is scheduled to be open in early 2024. And then they're also starting to put the foundation down for the next 2 fabs that will be next to it. You see that in the, the pictures below the core. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, Suzanne, thank you. Okay, so let's talk about the crane. Let's take a look at the crane watch. As you know, when there's a crane involved, it's usually at least $10 million, probably a lot more than that if you need a crane. These guys out here on this tech core have been employing and using between 20 and 40 cranes. The last time I drove by I-10 up there on Carefree Highway about a week ago, I was able to count 33 cranes. This is a hundreds of billions of dollars project that is not changing. The reason we've got this big red one in the middle, this is my favorite crane. This is the Manitow 31,000. This thing was in Dallas a few years ago. They broke it down. To give you an idea of how big this one crane is, it takes 4 cranes, 4 smaller cranes like the yellow one next to it, to break it down. It takes 164 transport tractor trailer beds to haul it from Dallas to Phoenix, and then they assembled it back up here. So this is the scale that we're looking at. And then still there's 30 to 39 other cranes that are working on this site. So this is historic. Like in the history of Arizona, there has never been an investment from a private company the size of what these guys are doing up there. So we'll get to, a little bit further about, what the timeline is on that. But generally speaking, they're going to be out there for a number of years. They're just finishing up, again, early next year, about 9 months from now is the grand opening of Fab 61. It's their first of 3 fabs and possibly the first of 6 fabs that are going to go in. So love it when you see the cranes out there. It's guys that are in commercial, guys and gals that are in commercial. When we see cranes, we know something big, something significant, some significant capital is being invested in that area. Let's go to the next slide, if you would, Suzanne. So this is a picture from a friend of mine that actually worked. He was from Chicago. He is from Chicago, and he is an electrician. At this time that I took this picture a few months ago, he was one of 3,000 electricians that were brought in from different unions around the country to employ and build this. When the building is ready to be wired, it takes about 3,000 electricians to wire one of these buildings. It is an extremely complex build. And so the amount of money that they're spending just to build this thing is $40–50 billion for each one of these. And then they have all these employees that are going to come in and get these nice meaty jobs. So this thing is going to keep on growing. My friend went back home to Chicago. He'll be back out here. He comes with a union out of Chicago of 40 guys, and they go back and home 3 months here, 3 months back home. So it really is a build from all over the United States to get these things out of the ground. We just don't have enough labor in town to do it. Plus, there's obviously a lot of other projects that are that are being built at the same time. So we're lucky that we have a lot of things going on in Phoenix right now. But we are able to find the concrete. We're able to find the skilled labor. We're able to find the other things that make the criteria such that they chose us, such that TSMC Morris Chang decided to plant this in the desert with us. So next slide, Anna. Suzanne, please. So let's talk about jobs. How does this affect the jobs? The jobs growth, if you looked at January's jobs growth, we were third. We had 19,000 new jobs. The state of Arizona had a net gain of a little over 19,000 jobs. And this trajectory that the economic opportunity, opportunity from the Arizona Arizona governor's office has been pretty accurate. The dip was a little bit more, but we expect to add in the next 10 years between 2020 and 2030 a little over 700,000 jobs. So why is capital coming into Arizona at a clip that only Texas is seeing? It's because Arizona has the jobs. The jobs is what pulls in the capital. It's what pulls in the investors to build new commercial, all these master plan communities that are coming out of the ground with hundreds or thousands of homes, is because of the jobs. We have good, meaty jobs that are here in Arizona. We're taking some of the business from California. We can talk more about that, but I think there's been a lot of smart business people. I have, in my commercial practice, I've never seen this many really good strip malls in California, all different cities in California that are for sale right now. So I think there's some smart business people that are exiting California, not necessarily coming to Arizona, but a lot of them are coming to Arizona. Some of them are going to Florida, some of them are going to Texas, but there's a shift. There's definitely a shift that I've been seeing, that I haven't seen in the last 25 years. So great jobs growth. And this is something that we want to just keep on going, over the next 10 years. And then, all these kids, all these new young engineering families, we're also becoming not only, expanding in our tech core for semiconductors, but we seem to be becoming a hub and a core for electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles. We seem to be in a good place. Lucid had their sedan that's been a wild success. That's down in Casa Grande. So they chose to open up a 1 million square foot plant for their SUV. That's dated about a year now, but they're building SUVs down in Casa Grande. They're number 2 to Tesla in the sedan market. A little cheaper, a little faster, goes a little longer. It's a good car. If you're thinking about purchasing an EV car, you might consider a Lucid if you haven't heard about it. But very good car. So the jobs keep on coming. Let's talk a little. Let's move Suzanne to the next slide here. So what we have here is we have a little image of what's going on to the west of the tech core. There is Vistancia, and I think their third phase, beautiful foothills in the mountains. And I'll tell you guys about it. If you're in residential, about Vistancia. I love it. I think it's a mirror image of McDowell Mountain Ranch, although you get to have the sun rise, but you don't have the sunset in your face, so to speak. So I love how, and the prices are cheaper out there. Beautiful, beautiful build. Obviously, it's been successful for a number of years, such that Saddleback Heights, this is something that was purchased last year. It was built in the 1990s. It was master planned in the 1990s by the city of Peoria, and nobody wanted it. But last year, a Dallas concern paid $110 million to purchase Saddleback Heights. So a little bit further north, a little bit further west, also in those beautiful Sonoran, high Sonoran foothills with all that desert flora that we love. There's going to be Saddleback Heights. If you haven't seen it, that's coming soon. They're in the planning and permitting process right now with the city of Peoria. So this is, an area that is going to benefit quite a bit for those that want a short commute to their job at the Tech Corps. Also the Deer Valley Air Park area, that seems to be an area where a lot of the subcontractors are, basing camp, and that's a very dynamic build right now for industrial tilt slab warehouse subcontractor space. So it's a good area, and it's going to keep on growing out in this area with thousands of homes. I think the next slide, Suzanne, shows a little bit about what you can see as far as new developments, new master planned communities. Sorry for the slides a little bit blurry, but it does a good job of giving you an idea relative to the Tech Corps. How these foothills in the Lake Pleasant foothills, and Estancia and Saddleback, these are parcels and subdivisions and land deals that have occurred in the last 12 months. So a lot of activity for this area, and part of it is because of the 303. So the 303 went in very quietly. This was approved by 3 administrations ago. So the last 3 administrations have been in conversation with the Taiwan folks, and they have agreed to and greenlit the 303. They quickly put the 303 in. The widening of the 101, if you guys remember a couple of years ago, they quickly widened with extra lanes on the 101 loop. That was so that we could handle the extra flow off of the 17 from the Tech Corps, also getting the logistics to the 17. The 303 loop out the west, that really is an important new build that confirms our federal government, ADOT, and our federal government's commitment to the Tech Corps. There will be a lot of transports with a lot of gear that will be coming into the Long Beach Harbor, and it needs to quickly get on a tractor trailer and be transported here to Arizona. And so the I-10 now has the 303 loop that bypasses a lot of the downtown corridor area, even bypasses the 101. So they can quickly get that gear up to the Tech Corps and keep the build going. So this was, again, just another confirmation, another investment by ADOT to the Tech Corps, to the Taiwan folks, that yes, we're serious about this. We're a pro-business state, and so we want to have you out here. So and obviously all the developers, as you see, yeah, you can change it. Thanks, Suzanne. So yeah, this is from the Estancia area last year, and it's just going to keep looking like this. There's going to be a lot of these homes going in for the factory workers, for the subcontractor workers. Up further in the foothills and the nicer areas, there's going to be a lot of executives coming in for these hundreds of companies that are being asked right now to set up shop around the Tech Corps, and they're going to need nice neighborhoods to live in as well. So we're very lucky to have it. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So some recent news here, as I mentioned, right now the plan of record is for TSMC to build 3 of these fabs. That'll probably take around 4 to 5 more years. They'll be out there building the second and the third fab. The second fab foundation is already going in now. There is a culture clash, like I mentioned, and for instance, in the Japanese factories or the Taiwanese TSMC factories, if an engineer's process goes down at 1 in the morning, they get up, they get dressed, and they go in there. In the United States, they wait until the next morning. So by 2 o'clock, 2:30 in Taiwan or Japan, that process that went down, and these processes go down all the time. These buildings are so expensive to capitalize, they have to run 24/7, and you do not want your process to go down. Trust me, it's not good. You want to get up and you want to get in there and get it done. In the United States, if that process goes down at 1 in the morning, it'll be fixed by 9 in the morning. And that is a big concern by the TSMC folks. So they are, they are trying to meet the culture of 8 hours a week, or 8-hour work days, 40-hour work weeks, somewhere in the middle. They do about 70 hours work weeks over in Taiwan and Japan right now for TSMC. That's why they are who they are. They work very hard. When I was at Intel, there was many times when my process speed was down or it was at risk of going down that I spent 24 hours in there. If it goes down and it's critical, just bring your cot because you're going to stay for a number of nights. That's what it takes when you have customers that want more product than you can ship every week. It's a really good thing to have, but it is difficult. So that's something that, they're a little concerned about. I'm, beating the drum as much as I can. If anybody has a smart kid, smart grandkid, put them into a math program, put them into a science program, and there will be a really nice job and they will learn how to work hard. They will earn their money and it'll change their life, it'll change their culture. So there's good jobs that are going to be up here. If it's not with TSMC directly in their fabs, it will be in the subcontractors. So I very much encourage everyone to really, let's take these jobs, let's get our kids into these companies because it will, it'll change them and they'll have pride of bringing, this next generation of silicon into the market. So because of this, Intel decided to, not because of this, but in coordination with TSMC, Intel wants to keep step. They don't have the lead right now in the geometries of the silicon wafer manufacturing. Right now, the lead is 3 nanometers, and Intel is on a 5 nanometers. So they've decided to not build 1, but 2 additional fabs here in Phoenix, down in Chandler. So these are $60 billion fabs that they have earmarked. They have, it is plan of record right now, and they are going to do 3 nanometer technology as well. So I don't want to get into twiddling the bits here, but it is the line spaces and traces, between the transistors. And the lines of the transistors. And the more you can pack on there, the more that your phone can do. Like my phone does 94 things. I only use 5 of them, but it does 94 things. And it seems like we have, we never have a shortage of a voracious appetite for new apps and new uses for this silicon. So Saddleback Heights, like I said, the development is underway up in the northeast part of Peoria. And then the CHIPS Act. The CHIPS Act is something that was signed into law in the Congress last year. And what does that mean for us? What does the CHIPS Act bring to us? Well, its first year is $52 billion that is earmarked for the entire nation. And Intel, like I said, they spent $7 million lobbying the federal government to get a lot of that money here. We seem to be in the lead between Texas, California, Ohio, Florida. We are all areas that are going after some of that CHIPS Act money. So it opens up R&D research centers in our universities. It gives tax breaks and tax credits for investing in affordable housing around the tech core. So it's a comprehensive act to help spur and make sure that the multiplier engine of a tech core can actually improve the economy, improve the surrounding city, with the infrastructure that they need. Of course, we've talked about the roads. That's something that the government put in before this, but the CHIP Act makes it much more formal. And we should, we're in the lead. We should get our fair share or our unfair share of that 52 billion this first year, but that's just a good start. That's just this year. We need to continue to invest money and additional money and make sure that the federal government continues to put in the new roads when we need it. I think we'll have that. It seems like I said, all three, the current Biden administration and the last 2 administrations have all green lit everything we've needed to in order to court the TSMC folks and give them what they've needed. So we're in a real good position there. All right, Suzanne. Thanks.
Tom, just really quick, I think you
Yeah.
skipped over the Arizona water tech jobs. Can you
Oh, gosh.
touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, my apologies. Thanks for catching that. So water, you can't really talk about the tech core without talking about water. Does it make sense to invest water in tech jobs? it's a concept that, maybe some of you heard about, but we have to invest our water in something. Historically, we've invested our water in a lot of agricultural pursuits, a lot of agricultural jobs. That is, as that is going away. A lot of that is being redeveloped into housing, strip malls, and that takes less water than the agricultural consumption per acre takes. So this is a big hot topic. We seem to be getting national news that we're running out of water. Well, what we have in Phoenix, what we have in Arizona, is we have a very comprehensive, elaborate system to collect and channel and retain all the snow melt, all the rain that goes on and that happens in our northern watershed area, mostly Arizona, a little bit of Utah, a little bit of Nevada, also by Albuquerque. So we have the canals, we have the lake system. We have the ability to store this, to recharge, to take this water, this snow melt and rain out of the lakes, channel it down here, and then recharge our groundwater. So right now we have over 25 years of water in the ground for our use and our future use for Arizona. So the headlines have to do with one of our three sources of water, and that is the Central Arizona Project that was built, the canal off of the Colorado River up by Lake Havasu that was started in the 60s and finished in 1986. And that brings about 22% of our water canaled here to Phoenix and then down to Tucson. And that water comes from Lake Mead, and then further up, it comes from Lake Powell. If you've listened to the news, those lakes have been down. So we are, we're in a good place here in Arizona on water. These big tech cores do not take as much water as you think they do. Once they're filled up, once the tech core, or once that particular fab is filled with water, they reuse about 75–80% of that water. They recycle it, they clean it, they put it back in line, back in their system. So they're very water efficient now. And the Taiwan folks have taken this. I mean, they live on an island. Water is a very scarce resource to them. Also in Japan, where they have their megafab of 6 complex. So it's something that they have had front of mind, to be very conscious of the water use, since their inception 30 years ago. So it's nothing new for them. It's kind of a cultural change for us to think about it, but they would not have chosen Arizona if that is one of the key criteria, of course, that is the reason why they chose, because we do have the water, we have the ability to retain it, we have the ability to connect, channel it down to them. Conversely, a stat that I ran across last week, as you know, the Sierra Vista Mountains in California, we're going to throw California into the bus here a little bit, have had snowpack, historic snowpack, record snowpack, 15–20 feet. Some of these storms were 7–8 feet of snow, 10 feet of snow each. That started to melt in the last few weeks, as our weather has heated up. And to date, there has been around 9 years of water supply for the entire state of California that has run off in snowmelt. Unfortunately, that has run off into the Pacific Ocean. They do not have the storage sheds, the storage basins, and the lakes and the canal system that we have in Arizona. Why? It's really expensive. It's very difficult. One thing is 50,000 retention basins. If you are developing land in Phoenix, then it's a real pain to have to quarter off part of your land for retention. If it's a real infill, you'll see these big 9-foot pipes that go into the ground, so that under the parking lot, for instance, they'll let a drain happen and let that water sit. But in 1980, the Maricopa County said that you cannot let, you have to calculate, you can't let any water drain off your site from a 100-year flood, 100-year rain. You have to be able to calculate the depth of your retention and leave it. You'll see this, you see these big retention areas in master plan communities. There'll be, a soccer field, there's 50,000 of them that are in the ground right now all over Phoenix. So if it rains, that water sits and it leaches back into the water table. So we have springs that are springing right now that are full because of our water management. So if it rains or snows, we can collect it, and it stays here, and then we manage it and bring it down, in a orderly way into our treatment centers, and then we get to reuse it. And then after we use it, it is gray water, and a lot of that water is used for our golf courses and our parks, and most importantly for Palo Verde. So thank you, Suzanne. Is there anything about water that I missed there that we were talking about earlier?
I think the only thing you were wanting to touch on was the particular tech jobs that are related to water with TSMC, because I believe they have a whole hydrology department that they have to manage their water treatment.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, TSMC, like as Suzanne said, they take water very seriously. They are, like, for instance, they are examining the lakes and the canals that this water is channeled to them. The CAP canal, our big reservoir is Roosevelt Lake up in the northeast part of the valley or the Mogollon Rim area. And so they're looking at how this water is channeled to see if there's any plants that may be, very high water using plants, weeds and other plants, and they are pulling them out. They're literally going up there. That's how far these hydrologists, these scientists from Taiwan are working in collaboration with Intel, by the way. Those two companies understand that that water that's up in that lake, used to be snow, and that's going to eventually come down here and be cleaned into, to be pure water that they need. They need very, very pure water to make these silicon wafers to produce, these type of geometries. So they want to make sure that as much of that water can get down here, and it's not just being soaked up by the weeds on the side of the canals and the lakes. So very comprehensive, very well thought out strategy to preserve our water and not have it, be wasted, upstream and or downstream. So yeah, good catch. Thank you, Susan.
Yep, I think you covered it.
Okay, good. All right, so next slide here. So why do we need so many chips? Why do we need so many chips? Well, one, we've had this cultural shift since the pandemic where we don't seem to want to get off the couch. And if we do, we don't want to get out of our car. And every time we order something off of Amazon for our dog or for us, it is about 100,000 chips that are mobilized for that transaction. That's before the tube of toothpaste that we ordered for Amazon is put in a box and put in a truck and shipped to us. So it's a very intensive logistics, technical challenge to make our lifestyle happen for us. Also, electronic vehicles, EVs and hybrid vehicles. In the bottom here, you'll see a fleet of Lucid sedans that, again, are made down in Casa Grande. For every sedan, for every SUV that is self-driving, there is about 1,800 pieces of silicone in it that allow it to drive itself and sensor around everything that it needs to in order to compute, not crashing into the wall. We seem to have an electric vehicle hub also growing up in our area, and that takes an enormous amount of technology, electronics, semiconductor chips to control them, to charge them, to keep them in range, to make sure they don't overheat. Many sensors, many controllers go into, changing from a battery to, from gasoline to battery. And at the bottom here is Apple. Why did we put Apple in here? Well, you would not know of TSMC unless you knew that Apple is their #1 customer. So 400 customers, and Apple is, they're almost a third of their revenue. Last year, TSMC did about $48 billion in sales. This is crazy, but they're so profitable. They took $20 billion down to the profit. So out of 48 billion, 44% was profit. Their #1 customer is Apple. Apple is a highly profitable brand. They are our brand. They are as American as it gets. So if you buy Apple, you are buying TSMC. Apple they are a fabless technology company. They do not own any fabs. They chose to go with a foundry such as TSMC. They used to use Samsung as well. For a period of time, they were even using Intel for some of their core processors. But right now, all of their chips are with TSMC, and Apple is doing great. So they're very happy that TSMC decided to split the world in two. as Morris Chang said a couple of months ago, globalization is dead. No one is trying to globalize. Everyone in this particular type of very complex product is building building chips for their customers in the East, their Eastern customers in the East, and the customers they have in the West, they're building their chips for them in the West. Now chips, if you know, really, they go all over the world. They do between the front end fab and the back end packaging and sort and test processes. They do go all over the world right now. But the core front end, that's really where the secret sauce is. That's really where we want these young, smart engineering families in our backyard. We really want them. It's part of what's being kind of called the silicon shield. The saber rattling that China is doing. TSMC, Morris Chang, is very happy. He is an Asian Pacific, but he's an American citizen, and he's very happy, and he agrees with our strategy to not share latest technology with China, but to keep that here in the United States, keep these as secrets in the United States. And a 3 nanometer fab is not easy to build. There's nothing even close to that in China right now. So what we have is design, we have creativity here in the United States, and China has the ability to copy. They have the ability to produce in massive amounts, but this is very technical stuff, and they wouldn't be able to pull this off unless they got it from us. So the silicon shield is something that they are wanting us to have a more friendly shore aspect to Taiwan. So the United States, we're over there with a number of our aircraft carriers, and we're keeping an eye on the friendlies. We're keeping an eye on Taiwan, we're keeping an eye on Japan, we're keeping an eye on Malaysia. And so, this is an important part to keep the peace in the Pacific Ocean and keep all of these companies feeling comfortable with coming over here, but also having their headquarters over there. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so before we get into the contributions, I'll let you guys read that. What are the criteria? Let's take a look at what everybody's put into the chat here. What do you think the criteria are for Arizona, Phoenix specifically, getting chosen to be the winner of this big tech core? We have in here weather and space.
Do you want me to start reading them off for you, Tom?
Sure, please.
We have water and space, access to distribution, silicone and land to develop, transportation hub, housing for staff and employees, water, tax benefits, land availability, potential for growth, prices are cheaper, stable electrical supply, logistics, weather and space, seem to be the top ones.
Yeah, good job, guys. Thank you. You're all in the ballpark here. So specifically, what we have is a very mature supply chain. Again, this is the 11th semiconductor manufacturer that has chosen Arizona, and mostly all of them are in Phoenix. So we also have local universities in Arizona that have curriculum specifically for what the semiconductor fabs need: good engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, physicists, material sciences. Those programs are pumping out really smart young guys and gals for to take these jobs and to keep us moving forward. We have political machinery in place that's pro-business. Like I said, the last 3 administrations, also the governor's office understands the importance of getting the Taiwan folks here up and running and making some money. The electrical power, Palo Verde, we have 3 nuclear reactors out there. Number 1 and number 3 reactor are routinely one of the top 5 in the world in electric output. Most of that electricity we don't use yet. We put it out on the grid. It goes to Albuquerque, it goes to Los Angeles, it goes up to Nevada. We sell most of that power, so that most of that is all headroom, for electricity that we will eventually use in the future. We have low natural disasters. We're seismically stable. We don't shake very much. If you shake a fab, you throw everything that's work in process, all the wafers that are in process away. That's very expensive, and you start all over. You can't shake. These fabs can't shake. We have the availability of land under one landowner. The Arizona State Land Trust they were in charge of this land before they sold it to the Taiwan folks. So, the ability to have land close to a major, large metropolitan area that already has 10 semiconductor manufacturers in it, they couldn't do this, in other cities that would not have this amount of space, so they could build such a complex campus. Water, of course, water collection, water retention, water is always going to be front of mind. Water is always very important. But again, it's a good investment of our water. I believe this to be a good investment because these jobs are going to pull new residents, new homes. We have the ability to reuse this water. So I think we've been good stewards, in Arizona, specifically thanks to the Maricopa County decision in 1980 to put in the Water Retention Act, and how all the developers have been working forward from there. Also, one other thing, SRP told us a couple of months ago that the weather patterns have shifted in Arizona. So to give you an idea, again, about the importance of hydrology, is they've noticed that a lot more rain, more rain is coming into the eastern part of northern Arizona as opposed to the west. So this has been going on for about 11 years now. They've decided to raise the height of 3 dams, and SRP is an authority. They don't have to ask anybody. It's an authority that was granted close to when, 100 years ago, when we got statehood, in order to bring water and to bring power to the farmers and to the urbanites, the few of them that there were in Arizona. So they've been studying this for over 10 years, and they've decided to raise these dams by anywhere from 20 feet to 75 feet. And it's going to double a couple of these dams and the reservoir's capacity. So these are significant builds, and they're doing it because their timeline is 100 years, and they've been studying this for 11 years. And so they decided they're going ahead and raising those dams because looks like the rain is coming into the east a little more than the west. All right, no problem. Let's raise those reservoirs and be able to collect and store more of the snow and the rain. So we've got the infrastructure in place. I'm happy to give you guys these updates. If there's anything else, that you want to talk about, please, ask now, or we can speak later. I try to give you guys contributions in, an argument why we received this, why we won this tech core, demonstrated the bias in the criteria that was needed in order for them to choose us. It was over a 2-year process, and they looked at many different cities around the world, and we got it. And then again, and also offer steps for you guys to understand, the complex decision, to build the technical hub, and how you can help those new employees, those new residents, and welcome them into Arizona, and find them a house. So what I do is I assist developers and builders with residential builds, with commercial builds. If you are a residential agent and you have a customer that has a commercial need, happy to help you, happy to sit down and talk with you about it. So that's what I do. And let's keep Arizona growing. Let's keep it growing. And every one of us is important, as a part of the small way. We are a part of building the infrastructure so that we can attract the next fab. After TSMC, there's 2 other major semiconductor manufacturers right now that are looking, and Phoenix is in the final set of cities that they're looking at right now. So it is important that we keep showing that we're pro-business, that we keep, building homes and strip malls and, tilt slabs and, everything that is needed in order for these companies to choose us, and we'll keep this party going. So.
Yeah, Tom, we thank you for all that information. We do have a couple of questions that popped up in the chat if you want to take a second to answer them.
Sure.
Our first question is, how can we tie this into global clientele?
Yeah, good question. So one thing I've been suggesting is a certification program for a TSMC real estate certified, international expert. That could be, a program that would give an agent the tools, the knowledge, the resources to know where to stay up to date on on what's happening in the tech core so that they can talk to them. Also, what's important is culture. You got to understand the Taiwanese culture, the Russian culture, the Chinese culture, the Indian culture, obviously the Texas culture, the New Mexico, there's little variances here from state to state here in the United States, but it's very important that you understand what's important to them and be up on that. So, there's a need for it. I can't say I can point you directly to it. It's something I've been doing. It was my career at Intel. I didn't do the site selection on these big decisions. I did the site selection on the subcontractors. I was young. I wasn't, it wasn't that important. But I had to go all over the world and meet these people and say, we like what you do for us, here in Chandler or up here in Folsom or over there in Costa Rica. And we want you to do the exact same thing for us at our next location that we're planning to build in Penang or, in Israel or wherever that particular next fab was going in. So, I would read about the tech core, read about TSMC, just watch videos. One of the things that you can learn a ton is Morris Chang is an old fart now, and he likes to talk, man. He's retired and he's kind of an old grumpy grandpa, and he says it like it is. I love the guy. More listen to this guy. I love him. You can learn a ton about what is important to TSMC and the next employee that comes over here from Morris Chang, because right now he isn't beholden to anybody. He's out there like, he's got his go to hell fund stuff, and he's not, every president and head of state in the world would love to have that guy come in there and have a meeting with him. This guy is that important in the world. So go listen to Morris Chang. There was a new book called Chip Wars that just came out. A young guy here in the United States followed him around and authored this book. And Morris Chang really likes that. So they're on a little speaking tour right now on this book called Chip Wars. So I would start there. Just go on, just go watch the YouTube podcast of Morris Chang. He's probably got 20 of them out there all over the world, literally, with this young author. And they're talking about the latest, of what's needed. And in there, you'll pick up some tips about, what you can do, some little tricks of the trade on how you can be the agent for, that next new engineering family that's going to move in here.
Thanks, Tom. That's great. I see we got several questions, and some of them are getting answered in the chat. Thank you for chiming in, Charlotte, with the question regarding what language dialect do the Taiwanese people speak, and the answer was Mandarin Chinese. And then in relation to our other question that we had, it was regarding what's going on with the housing for all these workers that are coming in here, where they're going to be living. The question is TSMC providing housing?
Oh yeah, good question. Well, TSMC is providing a big meaty paycheck, and in general, no, they're not providing housing. They're focused on building their fab. It is very difficult to build one of these fabs, and that is their core. They don't have much of a marketing and sales office or their strategy to their company. As I said, they're a foundry. They white label chips to other people. So they are very good at staying focused on what their core competencies are. Housing is not one of them. So what they needed to have was a pro-business state that already had a mature, comprehensive housing industry in place. So, who's going to be housing though is D.R. Horton and Century Homes and Land Sea Homes. Surprise, if you haven't been up on Wickenburg on I-60, Surprise is very dynamic right now. The Surprise planning and zoning have been there twice in the last 3 months. They are very interested in talking to anybody that wants to do master plan communities there. Surprise is very hot right now. I spend a lot of time in the Deer Valley Air Park area because of industrial, because of commercial. That is the first hub, because it's just 5 minutes down the street from where where the tech core is. So there are many build to rent, many small apartment complexes that are going in the Deer Valley Air Park area. So that's going to be a real mishmash of industrial, the airstrip, of course, commercial, retail, but a lot of dense housing is going in the Deer Park area. like never before, guys. I've lived here my whole life. I've never seen this much growth, this much, you gotta have your head on a swivel. You're gonna be run over by a cement truck in Deer Valley right now. It is very, very busy. So the good news is TSMC is not housing them. No, they're giving them a big paycheck, and they're saying, if you want to have a place for nice young people to congregate, to meet, a lot of these engineers are coming over solo. They'll probably choose Desert Ridge. They'll probably choose that, wonderful little place in North Phoenix, north of the 101 loop. The Sun Valley Parkway and the Dove Valley Parkway, they both split off the tech core going east and west. Brand new federal roads. If you haven't driven them, go drive those roads. They're beautiful new divided highway roads right through the foothills and the mountains. One of them drops right down there in Cave Creek, just a stone's throw from Desert Ridge. The other one goes around the north part of the White Tank Mountains and connects the 101. We're loosely calling it the 404 loop, but it goes right through another major master plan community tabbed for 100,000 homes. That is, of course, Bertella, used to be called Douglas Ranch. That's the Howard Hughes and Jerry Colangelo collaboration to develop the west side of the White Tank Mountains. Go drive that. It ties back down into I-10, kind of out there by Buckeye. And so that would be good education for you to understand where these roads are, because they're, again, federal roads right cut through the mountain, but eventually they'll have, thousands of homes, if not tens of thousands of homes in the next 5 to 10 years. That'll be in those areas. So, yeah, good question.
All right. Well, I think most of our questions have been answered. I know we're wrapping up here. It's 10 o'clock. So that is kind of our hour for the speakers series presentation. Thank you, Tom, for being here and helping educate us on what's going on with the TSMC. That I know we had a question in there as far as the slides, if you're willing to share the slides with our attendees.
Certainly.
If you're good with that.
Certainly.
We'll go ahead. All right, sounds good. We'll get those sent out to you. And we will be hosting or posting this recording on our global page, which we will share the link with you as soon as all our attendees, as soon as it is available. And right now we're transitioning into our global council meeting, which everyone is welcome to stay and attend and hear what is going on with our global group, the programs, offerings, upcoming series that we have. We do want to highlight for everyone, we have a couple of events that are upcoming here that Global does have a tie-in with. One of those is our commercial forum that's on April 26th. That presentation is going to be on ADOT, so it's going to give insights into what's going on with transportation, how it's playing into traffic flows, growth, development, supplying the infrastructure for all the new development that we're hearing about. So a great event. It's live and in person here at SAR. It's free to attend. Just make sure to register in advance for that. You can find the link for it on our homepage for SAR. And immediately following the commercial forum, our global group does host its global social get together that everybody can meet in the cafe afterwards and connect and talk about what's going on with global investment and activities and network, make those connections. We would love to see you all there. And I think those are the highlights. Oh, I almost forgot our water summit. So water is that big issue that's going on. So we have our water summit that's going to be on May 16th. Don't miss that event. You can go into our events calendar on the website and you can find it and register through the events calendar. So check those out and we can go ahead then. And we're just going to transition right into our global council meeting. I know, Dina, you're on the call today as our co-chair for the council committee. If you wanted to unmute yourself, we can go ahead and get things going. You want to say hello?
Hi, how you doing? Sorry, I haven't been around lately. I've been tied up, but nice to be here today.
Glad to have you, Dina.
Thanks again, Tom. That was amazing having you speak.
You're welcome, Dina. Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Thank you, Tom.
Bye-bye.
And to get us going, here we have to start off with our motto that we've come up with, and we've gotten some branding going behind it regarding our global connect group is to network, connect, and grow. We want to help all of our global members to identify, connect with, network with each other so that we can establish all those connections and grow your real estate global business.
Suzanne, can I do a quick timeout real quick?
Sure, go for it.
For those of you that are officially on our global council, can you please do me a favor and just type your name in our chat box so I make sure I capture you for minutes purposes? Just want to make sure I don't miss anybody, okay? So again, for those of you that are officially on our global council, just please type your name into the chat box for us. Thank you so much. Okay, sorry, Suzanne. Carry on.
Perfect. No, don't worry about interrupting. We needed that. I forgot. All right. So kind of getting us back to our agenda. As a reminder, we are a platinum recognized global council, recognized by the National Association of Realtors. We get to vie for this achievement and recognition on an annual basis. So in order to keep our platinum level and keep plugging away, we want to make sure that we're meeting those benchmarks and continuing to expand and improve on those benchmarks that are out there that have helped us to obtain this level. And along those lines, I think one of the biggest things that we've identified this year is trying to help our programs. We have some great programs out there. Education, our speaker series, but we're wanting to tie in and connect with more of our membership and helping them to identify themselves as global. And I think a lot of that is getting them to understand that we have a global program. How are we able to get them to help identify themselves? There's a couple of ways that you can do this. That one is you can talk to your fellow peers that are doing kind of global transactions. Have them reach out to us here at SAR so that we can get them on our global list, invite them to be a part of the global council. Because it's a council, it's not strictly a committee. We can have a large number that's a part of our group that is about supporting the programs and the initiatives. The other thing you can do is you can navigate to your NAR profile. So when you go into your NAR profile and you can update your areas of business that you specialize in. When you identify those trickle down to us here at the local level, and we're able to populate and link you to our global programs and our global lists. So one of the things is we have the ability on when people are doing that membership search, and we have somebody that's wanting to find an agent who practices international global transactions or is more familiar with that, or maybe they speak a specific language that might be helpful to them to facilitate transactions, that they can go search our membership list and find those global practitioners. So that's a big one, is to help us identify those members, help bring them on board, that it's painless, we promise, as far as identifying as a global practitioner, but we want to be able to make those connections, make sure they're knowing about all the offerings and the benefits that we have for our global members to take advantage of.
Suzanne, we have a question. If participants that are not a part of SAR, if they can participate.
I don't see any reason why they can't participate, because a lot of this is we work with our sister real estate organizations that a lot of them we have MOU partnerships with, and we are constantly building that network so that we can continue to connect with them. And it truly is a web of networking, which global is all about. it's not just the information sharing and the learning, but having that network that you know how to refer business out to. So yes, as far as not being a SAR member, getting them involved so that they're on our kind of emailing list, our contact and reach out list, that they want to subscribe to that global news and updates to be a part of our networks. Absolutely. So moving on with our agenda, getting into our global program. So kind of give you an update what we have. So our key areas that we have our global programs are MOUs, which are memos of understanding. These are kind of reciprocal partnership agreements that we have with other global council groups. They do not necessarily have to be real estate organizations. They can be consulates, like we have a partnership with the Global Chamber that they represent global business practitioners, which is made up of, yes, some real estate professionals, but it's every aspect of business. Consulates, we work with the ARIA, which we had talked about a little bit earlier. So the Asian Real Estate Association of America, working with them, NAREP, there's several other organizations out there that we partner with. And this just helps us to build that web of networks and referrals, connectivity of how you can build and grow your business and facilitate your transactions. So the other aspect of it is education, helping to be part of the education series. We, Annalisa, I think there's a slide for you later in the thing. So Annalisa is that your go-to person to reach out for the education that we do. It's not just the designations that are available through the National Association, but we also have our workshops, like we're doing our speaker series topics, those sorts of things. Then we have our trade mission / speaker series. So this year, for those of you that are not aware what a trade mission is, we can have inbound or outbound trade missions. We decided for this year, our typical inbound trade mission, which talks about what is global investment and your international transactions going on here in Arizona, is to host those, since we're doing them all virtually, is to kind of split up the trade mission instead of having a series of consecutive days that are in depth, as we wanted to split those out and spread them out throughout the years, which established our speaker series. So you're going to start seeing our speakers that we had earmarked for our trade mission is now going to be on the front end of our council meetings. So everybody has a chance to hear those and attend those sessions. And then lastly, we have our Adopt a Realtor program. This is a program we're still trying to grow and get out there. It's one of those leading markers that was unique to us that we helped to establish, and we need to help to continue to grow it. So this is a two-part program. It's kind of a if you want to call it a matchmaking type thing of helping to connect real estate professionals that are from out of state or out of country that are traveling to our locality, that they can reach out to us, and in turn we can help match them up, pair them up with a global member from SAR that would be happy to host them. So the other part is having our members that identify as global practitioners sign up to be a host, so that you are there and ready, that when we do have the reach out from those individuals traveling to our area, we can connect them with you, whether that is meeting up for a cup of coffee, just to talk about hobbies, build those relationships, because truly the global business is about referrals. You're not going to be doing business necessarily outside of your area of expertise. And a lot of these transactions that's happening, you're there, especially if they're international, your referral partner in that country is going to be the one handling the transaction on their end, and you're going to be handling the other half of the transaction on your end. So those partnerships are key, and this is a way to help build those partnership and networks. Now, the other part of the Adopt a Realtor program, it's not just us having people coming to visit us, it's expanding this program out through all our MOU partners, so that them adopting the program and having it available on their site, it's reciprocal, so that if you're wanting to travel to their area, say you want to go to Chicago or you want to go to Florida and you happen to be in the Pinellas area, is that you can reach out to them. You can fill out the information for a quick, hey, I'm going to be in the area and I would like to connect with somebody, and send those requests out. So this is something that we want to keep expanding across our networks. Regarding our speaker series, so for 2023, here's the lineup for our speaker series. We already have our topics that we've pulled out, and we have our speakers confirmed, I think, for all of them. Annalisa, I think those through October.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I kind of want to jump in and ask the group
Sure.
real quick. This is the first time that we've rolled out. Today was the first day that we piloted this type of format and series. What were your thoughts so far? Do you like it for the first time, trotting it out? Do we have suggestions? So we can make adjustments as we move forward. Thoughts from any of you?
Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to chime in.
Let's see, we got a couple things coming in the chat box. Okay, seems like we like the speaker. Cool, very good. Okay, awesome. When we thought about this new format, it was more about your time as well. We want to be respectful of it. And we know the trade mission, although the information is awesome, was pretty intensive in terms of the amount of time taken. So it's a new way to try and still get out and disseminate amazing information, but just being a little bit respectful for your time. So awesome. Okay, just wanted to check in real quick and get your opinion on that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for the feedback. So our upcoming dates, next up is in June, the new residential developments. This is where we're having our speaker from R.L. Brown, who's going to be talking and highlighting those new residential developments that are throughout the valley. And then taking title in Mexico, this is, I believe that's Mike Patterson.
Mike Patterson.
Yeah, title attorney that specializes in title, handling those transactions down in Mexico. And the 1031s and DTS investments, we'll have that in October. And then green and sustainability, some of the stuff that we're looking at, a lot of people focus on sustainability and doing green buildings. And I know there is the new, it's kind of the equivalent of the LEED certification. I'm blanking the name of the new certification.
Pearl? Is it Pearl?
Pearl, that's it. So the new Pearl certification, and we wanted to talk about that and highlight what is that, what does that entail, how is that different from the LEED? So stay tuned for those. And our global socials, so we had mentioned it before briefly, the commercial forums. Those are the dates for the upcoming commercial forums that are going to be taking place. And the plan is to have, this was per the request from the council, that you wanted networking opportunities. This is a great opportunity to socialize after the commercial forum. I encourage you to attend the commercial forum. That way you can get that information and not just network with amongst yourselves, but this is an opportunity to bring in fellow, whether they're residential agents, people that may identify as global, to get them to learn and network with the group. I highly recommend it because you can also network with some of our commercial members that tend to hang out after the meetings, and you can then connect with them, because that's like the other aspect that I think a lot of agents miss out on that we hear about is commercial people tend to be very specific. They handle the larger commercial transaction. And because of that, they don't stray into the residential aspect. They would rather refer that business out to a residential agent that specializes in residential. So who is it that they're going to connect with? It's great to build that relationship with those commercial practitioners, because when they're working on the big projects like a subcontractor for TSMC, any of these other big ones that are coming in, when they have to bring in their executive staff and they need housing for them, who is it that they're going to reach out to and refer that half part of the business to? So that's an opportunity to capture. And our MOUs of understanding. So part of our MOUs of understanding is just we share information. And so you know that there are reciprocal, they're the reciprocal things that we can do. So just like we're putting on our speaker and education events and trade missions, is you have the opportunity to join in with any of our MOU partners that are hosting their own trade missions and education and opportunities, property tours, the designation courses if they're hosting those, and you can kind of get a member rate for those activities based upon by us having that MOU agreement with them. I know, let's see, I think it was Pinellas they're doing a trade mission to the Dominican Republic. I forget where Chicago is doing theirs.
Costa Rica. Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. And then we have Korea's been doing theirs as a virtual kind of a road tour of all the different provinces in Canada. So check those out. And then
Suzanne, could you please list our MOU people just so they
They're
know?
coming. They're coming.
I think we have that.
All right.
Trying to talk about it, we'll show the slide. There is a slide that shows it all. So along those lines, we also try to work very hard to connect with our MOU partners, and we have 2 opportunities a year to connect live and in person, and those are at the national meeting. So our next upcoming one for this year is going to be in May. So May, this is the NAR legislative meetings that are taking place in Washington, D.C. If you happen to be planning on attending and going to be in Washington, D.C. For the May 6th through 11th legislative meetings, please let Annalisa and I know that you're going to be there, because we want to make sure that you're part of the group, that when we set up the time, whether it's happy hour or whatnot, to connect with those MOU partners, we want to make sure you're there for that meeting and that get together. The other part of our connections is we try to do a quarterly MOU partner forum. This is a virtual event, and it's an opportunity not just for us, but our partners to highlight what programs, what upcoming events they have going on, where they're at, and what, how better can we get our groups to be involved, be aware, and stay connected.
Hey, Suzanne, I'll pop it in the chat box as well, but just curious on how do they find out more about the DC trip?
So the May DC trip, if you go to nar.realtor and you click on the tab is for events, and under that you will find the NAR legislative meetings. That's where you can go to find out all the information. Registration for the conference, just so you know, is free for NAR. What you're going to have to pay for is going to be your hotel and your travel, so airfare, and your dining, eating out expenses. So that would be what you would have to pay for. But the conference itself, attending all the sessions, the trade show, there is no charge for that. This is our opportunity to connect with all our political officials in DC on the congressional level. They are going to be having I want to call it a night out, but NAR has reserved the the baseball field there, where we're going to be having a hosted event and invited all of our congressional leaders to be there, to be present, so that we can meet one-on-one with them, have some conversations about our real estate issues, what we would like to see transpire at the national level. And there's a lot to learn. And then also the NAR committees that will meet. They have their in-person meetings at this event, which includes several global committees that are hosted by the National Association. I think Trish is on the call. Trisha is served on several of those committees over the years. That she's a great person to reach out to if you want to have questions of what those are all about. But they also do special receptions for our international global practitioners. And you're able to take advantage of those international receptions to further connect and grow your business. Thank you, Annalisa, for popping that in. So the direct link is legislative.realtor, so that you can navigate there to check out the information on the DC visits. And as you can see on the screen is here's a list of our current MOU partners that we have out there that we're continuing to do stuff with, and we will love to continue to grow this list of who we are connecting with. But they're the ones that we have ongoing stuff. And I'm going to toss this over to Annalisa now, since you're the education director and we're talking education.
Okay, guys. So as mentioned, we kind of switched things up this year, trying a couple of different things. Number one being the speaker series. But on top of the speaker series, we're also going to filter in some, easy for me to say, additional designations, certifications that pertain to global. And so I just wanted to highlight the one that's coming up most recently, or in the near future, I should say. Cannot talk this morning. And that will be May 18th. And we are hosting the Resort and Second Home Property Specialist certification. So if for those of you that are not familiar with it, this particular certification does specialize in buying and selling or managing properties for investments, development, retirement, and really, for those individuals that buy a lot of their second homes in Arizona, which I'm sure you can all agree, we have a huge population that does so. In fact, they're on the streets all the time during the winter. I joke. So this is a great certification if you are interested. There is a cost to this. It's because it's a full day from 8:30 to 3:30. But given that you are on the Global Council, if you are interested in taking this certification, I will give you a discount. So just let me know if you have interest in this. Give me a call and I will hook you up with a good price. How about that, Knuckles? The question is, who's the instructor? Trisha, her name is Nikki Zotto. And so it should be a really good class. And this will have CE credit as well. And I'm blanking the hours off the top of my head, but it will have 6 hours of CE on top of the certification. Suzanne, can you advance, please? Oh, so I'll let Suzanne and we'll both talk about this, but interesting opportunity also for any of those who are interested. So talk about global partners, Costa Rica. And Suzanne, what is the formal, the organization that's hosting it? It's like Costa Rica Association of Realtors, but different in Costa Rica, obviously.
It is them, but they're the one that is hosting this year's basically the CIP Institute. So they're hosting kind of the annual, this is your opportunity to do the get it all in one fell swoop. So you have 5 days that you get to spend in glorious Costa Rica at a nice resort on the beach and get your certification. And they also combine it with some activities that while you're there visiting, you get to go out and experience some of Costa Rica, kind of like its own trade mission. So there's some great benefits to it. And we thought it's a great opportunity. We would love to have a large group of our own SAR members that would want to go with us to attend this event and get your SIP certification. That basically our challenge is, how many people can we get? How many of you are interested in going, want more information? The dates for this is the end of July. So you have July 31st through August 5th is the dates. So anybody, if you're on there, what are your thoughts? Do you want to participate?
I also want to say that they've got really good pricing.
Yeah, I was going to
data.
mention
Oh,
that. Yeah,
go
I was
ahead.
going to mention that as well. And their organization does have a different name. I like to call it out because it is different. It's called the Coastal Real Estate and Related Professionals. Different labeling. But yeah, I found the pricing to be really good if you have ever wanted to do this. This is such a cool opportunity and would love to have a group going down there.
If we could get a big contingency from Arizona, that'd be awesome. And then we could, I mean, there's so many opportunities here that's possible. So Jennifer, thank you for your name. I'll reach out to you specifically. So you guys want to think about it? We'll send out more detailed information, the brochure, to our council directly. And then we can go from there. But we definitely wanted to let you guys know.
All right. And note, Annalisa, Pardeep is interested as well.
Oh, I'm getting
Rick.
everyone's name down right now.
All right. So yeah, if you're interested, put your name in the chat. We would love to get a large group going down there, that we can have a great showing. All right. So next up, this is something that an education workshop. Did you want me to touch on that, Annalisa? I know it's your education, so it's kind of your.
It's all this. I mean, just another opportunity. I like that we're varied in what we're offering. This is a workshop specifically with the Maricopa Association of Governments. They have a miraculous tool that some of you might be missing out on. And so this is a hands-on workshop where you would bring in your laptop and all. And I'll let Suzanne talk about the actual details of what that mapping or what those statistics and information looks like, the data, I should say. But what's nice about this one is it's in person from 10 to noon on May 24th. You have the opportunity to bring your laptop, and it's a hands-on application demonstration. So Suzanne, I will let Suzanne talk about the data side of things. But again, another awesome opportunity for you to come out and play.
So for the rest of you, to explain a little bit more. So the Maricopa Association of Governments was established, and they help to gather all the information and data that they supply to Maricopa County, the Board of Supervisors, and in particular the League of Cities. So all of the cities within the Greater Phoenix metro area utilize this data and this information for helping them to do all their planning, growth, development, anything that they need for their analytics. And what is so great is this tool and database has been fleshed out and expanded and grown so much over the course of the last decades. But the biggest thing is it's a free tool. It's free and you can access it. Anybody in the public can access it. They have such a robust source of information that is coincided with heat maps. You can do travel times. I think the commute time information from anywhere in the Greater Phoenix metro area that you want to share that. And they do a wonderful report printout that you can share with your clients whenever they're asking about, well, how long is my commute time going to be at this hour of the day? You know, when it's rush hour, I want to know all that information. You can look at what land is available as undeveloped or is state land, or there's proposed projects, something has been filed as far as a permit. You can pull out that information, and The other part of it is they have a whole thing on the schools in Arizona, which is intense as far as the information that you can share. Everybody that's concerned about what level of the school is, what's the grades they get, how do they fare compared on the national, state, local level. This gives them that opportunity to truly drill down into that. So what will happen at this mapping workshop is the representative from MEG is going to be there to walk you through where the tools are at, what they do, how you navigate it, how you can pull those reports and get that information that's going to be the most useful to you and your clients. It's one of those things, if I can ever tell anybody that here's the secret sauce that you can tap into data and information and have it at your fingertips. This is it, and it's free. You can't beat it. So, but you do want to learn how to use it and navigate it. So don't miss out on this free class. Annalisa, is the registration already up and available for this class? Oh, did we lose Annalisa? Well, we'll get back to you on that. I think we do have the registration up and running, and hopefully we'll be able to pop that link into the chat for you. The other thing is about our Adopt a Realtor program, just a reminder about it, that I sent out the link. So what you're seeing on the screen, this is the links that you will see on the homepage for our global group. These are for people that are coming to visit us. So that would be the link that they use to sign up to visit us. There is a separate link, which I included in the emails that were sent out to you specifically, and that is to sign up to be a host. So this is for our global members to reach out to us, and we need to gather your information. One, by filling it out, it lets us know that you are willing to step up as a host, and you also get to identify what is your level of commitment that you want to take part in this. Is it a matter of like you're willing to meet to chat? You want to take them out to dinner? Maybe you're interested in taking them on a tour of some properties. You know, what is that level of commitment regarding you being a host that we want to make sure we're not overreaching and asking you to do too much if we have somebody that comes in and wants to connect. So please click on the link, please fill that out, and please share that with any one of our members that wants to become a host and be a part of our global network and our global group. Any questions on that? Does anybody have any questions? Nope, not hearing any. All right. And then, oh, here's the link. I forgot I had a slide for that. So this is what you would see if you're filling out the host form that, and maybe Annalisa can pop that in there.
I can.
So that way you can have it there in the chat and just go in and fill out the form for the host application. I think that is it. And Annalisa, did you hear me about the Meg Moneyball? Do we have the registration link up for that yet?
That is a great question.
I'm not
I
seeing.
will send it out when I send
I'm
out.
not seeing it, so we need to send that out. Yeah.
When I
Okay.
send out information for Costa Rica, actually I'll send out all highlights, which will include Tom's slides, Costa Rica, Meg. Sorry, I was in the restroom. I had to run to the restroom, so I missed it earlier. I'll include all of that for you guys, okay?
All right. So Dina, is there anything else you want to add to the group? Talk about new business feedback?
Nope, I think you guys covered an amazing everything today. It was amazing. I'm going to add that Meg class is awesome. I've taken it, and you almost have to take it several times to get it all, because it's just so, I mean, there's so much that you can do with it. It's like your mind just spins the whole time and all the ways you can take that. So I really love that class. And I wish I could go to Costa Rica. That would be fun. But no, thank you so much. You guys have everything. The classes look great, and social will be awesome. And the Dr. Realtor program is going to be great when we get it off the ground and people start coming. So, and I wanted to add that in terms of global, Canada has now blocked foreign purchase of property in Canada. Foreigners can no longer buy property. Even people incoming as immigrants can't buy property. So a lot of people who might have bought in Canada will happily maybe look south. So, you know, that's the nice thing about Korea and getting our referrals in line is if they have people who are trying to buy and can't buy there, they might buy here. So that's a good thing. That's it. That's all I got.
A very good thing. So I am curious because I know we had talked about instituting the global socials. Out of everyone on the call, how many of you are interested and are planning on attending the global socials that we have out there? Because I want to make sure we have people that are coming to connect. So Rick, you're interested in being there. All right, Loretta, Pardeep, perfect. Dina is going to be there. Excellent. I just want to make sure that this is all about us getting there and being in person, and we also want to grow it. So it's great to have all of you there that can share in the conversation, the invites, and yeah, excellent. So that was my curiosity. Is there any questions from the group that you want to ask before we end? And
great
bring up-
meeting. Very good meeting, very informative, and loved the whole slide presentation on both the speaker and your end.
Glad you enjoyed it, Rick.
That's good to hear, Rick. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any feedback?
I want to be
Hi, it's Loretta. I was going to connect you guys with Ampy because I sell in Mexico, and I was just wondering who I should direct that person to.
Either Annalisa or myself, either
Okay.
one of us.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Loretta.
You're welcome.
Right.
Anyone?
that's it.
Anyone?
I just
All
want
right.
to, say, I want to be as smart as Tom when I grow up.
Right?
Isn't he great?
He's so,
He's like that with so many things.
he's
It's
so
amazing.
informed on, you're right, on so many fronts. We are lucky to have him amongst our group.
So I was just curious, how did you find him and have him be the presenter? I mean, he was just full of great information because of the commercial forum, or?
Because he is a part of our commercial group, being a commercial member. He's been with our commercial group for several years, and we had him last June step up and speak on the TSMC and the presentation he gave back then. We've also had him speak about senior living facilities, which was kind of a side passion that he got introduced to and took that challenge on. A great speaker on both topics. So that's kind of how we've gotten introduced to him. He's currently a co-chair for our commercial council group. And he's very passionate and great about helping to connect. Would love to continue the relationships with our global council groups, where a lot of things that when it comes into some of like our speaker topics, those education pieces, referral business, those transactions, there is a lot of overlay between global and commercial. So. All right. So, let's see, there is a question I'm seeing here. Oh, I think this is that was for Loretta that Gray put out there, is he'd love to connect outside of the meeting. So I don't know if you saw that. All right. Well, that's all we have for today. Thank you everyone for attending. Make sure to sign up and be there for the April 26th commercial forum. And then we can see you afterwards at the Global Social. Looking forward to it, and stay tuned. Annalisa will help to get together all that information and follow up and send it out to you all regarding the slides and Costa Rica and the money ball and all that good stuff.
All the goodies. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Have a great rest of your day.